The only logical solution.
I think that just fixed it. I'm pretty sure I just fixed it. Okay.
Oh, screaming?
No. Back on the episode with the because you were not imperceptibly quiet to me at all. But back on the Redfall episodes when you were screaming, I turned you down.
Ah, that'll do it.
I specifically turned you down also because so the Wolverine controller that I got, remember through you, the new one?
Yes.
For whatever reason, the volume when I plug my headphones into that is like 100 decibels higher than normally. So so I've been trying to like work with that because basically I'm using the other controller for most of my normal recording stuff, but I'm also using it. Now, why are you giving off two things?
Two things?
Yeah.
Am I echoing?
I'm recording you twice. Give me one second.
Even better.
Disable that. Now we're good.
This is
so
good.
So I record with my older controller, and I also play like point and click games and stuff like that with the old controller. Hold on one second. Get up there. Go to bed.
Good.
Just wanted to say hi.
Okay. Go to bed. You're supposed to be in bed.
I heard her say hi. You can tell her that I heard her.
Yeah.
If it helps
she walked away angry already, so. So anyway, so what I was saying was, so I've been trying to deal with that, trying to get that recording separate because so when I plug my headphones into that controller, number one, it's one of the problems I had on one of my streams is it wasn't recording the audio because every time I switch it, I have to reset it up. Even though the setup is still for controller input, I have to do it all over again for it to work for some reason. But I like to play the games that I play with that one. It makes them more bearable, especially for Redfall. So I turned you down to try and deal with that. I turned Kayla down too during that. I turned you down more because you were screaming. But that's why on the Redfall episodes you're a little bit quieter too. But for whatever reason, like, I didn't think that would carry over into our general normal chat. I thought that was just for... Because I only did that in the Old Man Gaming chat.
Yeah.
Not our general one.
Yeah,
but it does. I just saw that your output volume was way lower.
I mean, you can always just tell me to be quiet next time.
I did.
I'll listen.
I actually said, please stop yelling. Exactly. I said, like, it was the first thing I said was, please stop yelling.
That was the point.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good. It's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming. You, dear listener, have chosen whatever reason to listen to another horrible gaming podcast. That's my... See? Because you can hear my phone notifications in the first 30 seconds. But I'm not alone. Usually I'm never alone. With me is...
Neil, a.k.a. Tiny Wizard.
Yeah. So we got a show for you today. Another positive, fun show. I'm really enjoying how we've been doing things lately. I think it's coming through.
At least this way we can prime ourselves with nice, positive, fun things to offset the negativity that inevitably comes at some point one way or another.
Yeah, definitely. So before we get into that yin and yang of a podcast, I got to thank the people that made this possible. Number one, behind our ugly mugs, you're seeing a fancy graphic. That is provided by Mr. Mark Bell. We thank him for that. And, of course, the theme song for this show and all the shows here at Old Man Gaming is provided by the man who makes the music, my brother Nick Van Sliders. We thank him for that. We'll be right back with Fans Reaction.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to our first segment, our most important segment, that is Fan-ter-raction. That's where we, the co-hosts, talk to you guys, the fans, just to let everybody know. The issue with Neil's mic hopefully has been fixed. Maybe I'll put a bonus up. We already kind of talked about it off camera, so I'm not going to reiterate it here. Maybe I'll put one of them as a bonus or something. But yeah, it was just a little weird tweak of Discord that confused me, you know. But it should be fixed now.
I already told him that I'd scream. He already said no.
So. So here we go. Let's get into it. We start with Jason. Starfield is supposedly Game Pass. I'll be joining to watch the train wreck. Also, Starfield is an urban legend. I'm still not even convinced it's coming out in September. I'm not going to lie. I'm still not even convinced. I will say this about Starfield. And this about all games, man. Every ad on YouTube for me right now is fucking Starfield. It does not come out for 2 months. Like, leave me alone, dude. It's not even like, you know, It's not even right now. Like, Jesus.
Well, I think part of the problem now is the fact that Microsoft has basically put themselves in this position now with everything that's gone on with, you know, not even just Activision Blizzard deal, like even with Redfall and how they've been doing the past few years, that like this has been the thing they've been hyping up for. If this doesn't do well, Microsoft is in for some scary times.
Still not even convinced this thing is coming out. I'm really not. I tell you another thing too. You're right on the money with that. Microsoft's mask has really slipped in the last like 2 months. Everything that's come out from the FTC trials and just everything else with Redfall and that, it's really like, you know, they had this image of like, we're your friends, we're the cool giant corporation, we care about your feelings, and now we really started to see the bullshit, you know, train. And this is one of those moments where I hate to be right, you know what I mean, about a company. Just hate it. Jason continues, 2032, all restaurants are Taco Bell. 2052, all restaurants are Xbox.
Oh, man. You know, it's
a good one.
It's funny because, of course, now I can't remember if we told it on here or not, but I have watched Demolition Man.
Yes, so he's finally in on the jokes.
I got another one for you. I watched another movie that I should have watched a long time ago last week for the first time.
I love it when your movie IQ goes up.
OG RoboCop.
Yes! You'd never seen OG RoboCop?
I'd never seen OG RoboCop.
Oh, that movie. I'd buy that for $1, baby. That movie is amazing.
I had heard so many people say that. And I'm like, I have no idea what it's from. And of course it's from that. But what's stupid is there's no joke lead up or anything for that. No. It's always just a dude with ladies screaming, I'd buy
that for $1. Yeah.
And even myself, I'm sitting here watching it laughing like a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't know why this is funny. I don't know why this is it because everybody on the movie is laughing?
It's because it's nothing. It's because he's just saying a thing about a thing that doesn't matter. Like, it's great. It's great. That's why it works so well when you say I'd buy that for $1, because you saying that doesn't really mean anything. Right. Oh, RoboCop's great, man. RoboCop's great.
It absolutely was fantastic.
Love RoboCop. OG RoboCop. 2 is good, too. I don't care what anybody else out there says. I love 2.
I've heard 2 is good. I've heard 3 is wild.
3's not great. I don't like 3. I'm going to say that. I'm going to go on record as saying I don't like 3. Because 1 was this, like, R-rated, super violent, like, action thing. And 2, they toned it down a little bit, but there's still tons of, like, action and violence and body horror in it. 3 is PG-13. And, like, at that point, you're like, this ain't right. Yeah. The only, like, returning cast member, like, the fucking dude wouldn't even do it. I can't remember his name right off the bat, which is killing me. But, yeah, he went to robot school to do that fucking movie, and he didn't do the 3rd one. It's a different guy. The only person who's back is the partner, the girl.
Oh.
So yeah, so RoboCop 2 is great. I like 2. All right, moving on. Let me thumbs up these suckers. Resident Evil went through several shifts. Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, Remake, and REO were all old-school third-person survival horror. Resident Evil 4, 5, 6, Remake 2, Remake 3 were all over-the-shoulder third-person action horror. Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8 were creepy-ass first-person survival action horror. Resident Evil 8 added third-person over-the-shoulder mode in its expansion. Yeah, Resident Evil has gone through a lot. I think one of the reasons I didn't mention it is it's a personal preference thing. I'm just not into Resident Evils. I never have been. I've hated them since the first one. Not hated them in the way that I think they're bad games, but just they're not for me. They're not for me at all.
Yeah.
But he is right. They've definitely reinvented themselves multiple times over the years.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat when it comes to like horror games.
Yeah.
But there are some though, like Dead Space. Like I don't
know you're
do
into
horror,
that.
but damn it, is Dead Space a good ass game?
Yeah.
Like just like from an objective standpoint.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I think all of those games deserve their spot in the pantheon of games. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like horror is a huge genre. People love horror. I don't. Yeah. I don't like horror. I'm not a horror guy. So like, it's just one of those things where like, I think it's not my genre. So I kind of ended up not pointing it out. But thank you for pointing it out, Jason. I appreciate it.
Yes.
He then says GTA has 3 groups. The top-down GTA and GTA 2. Awesome games. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. I love those games. The 3D GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. The HD GTA 4 and GTA 5, though it's debatable, those two are actually in the same continuity. Yeah, I don't know. But I will say, personally, the 3D GTA 3, the Vice City, and the San Andreas, they fit into the same spots as GTA 4 and GTA 5. You're only talking about graphical differences there. The game itself plays exactly the same. I've played all 3 of those games. It's the same thing. You get markers on a minimap, you go to the minimap. You know, they're all open world things like that. There's nothing really different. I mean, a case could be made for GTA 5 because it switches between the 3 people.
Yeah.
Sure. And you could also make the case on the GTA Online because
I think GTA Online has a stronger case.
Yeah,
personally.
But I think if you're talking about the base games, GTA 4 and GTA 5 are just natural evolutions of the same style of game.
Yeah.
However, I fully agree GTA 1 and 2 are completely different games from GTA 3. I played both of those games, and they're awesome games. GTA 2 was on Dreamcast, and I love that game. My food just decided to
you good?
argue with my decisions.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay, that burns my face hole. Woo! Okay.
You good over there? You all right?
Maybe. You ever have a burp that hurts your eyes?
Yeah, I've had that one before.
Oh.
I've had one go into the nose. That's not pleasant.
Sorry, everybody. I hate to do that on camera. That just happened. We're gonna push through. Jason continues. All characters in SOD, State of Decay, were pre-crafted. You start with Marcus and Eddie, then you meet Maya and go on to meet and join the Church of the Ascension crew. Random NPCs that you could meet and aid or recruit were pulled from a pool of a zillion pre-made NPCs. And there were story NPCs like the Wilkinsons or the Judge and her martial crew and Tan of his armor crew. Right. I prefer what State of Decay did and moved to the randomly generated NPCs. I mean, obviously not all of them are randomly generated, especially in the Trumbull County DLC, but I prefer the procedurally generated content. It just makes everything so unique, which is why I pointed it out. All right, moving on to William Hohen. Hi! Exclamation point. Oof! Neil's voice, man. Yes, like I said, hopefully it's fixed this week. I think we've got it squared away. On the consoles thing, yeah, there's no massive improvements anymore. The reason I could change my PS4 for my PS5 is mostly for the faster loading time, which isn't worth $750 right now. Good chair lore in this episode. What a fantastic talking point. On Zelda's open world, not sure I agree. But as I got into the quotations tiredness of roguelite/roguelikes, I think I'm getting tired that everything needs to be open world. Not sure I have a fair and honest view on that. Still, I believe there is a place for linear games. Thanks for the show. Hashtag pre-orders. Pre-order PS9 today.
Yeah, may as well.
I'm surprised they're not up already. I'm surprised they're not up for fucking 2043.
I mean, maybe they won't botch that launch if they get ahead of it.
Oh. I mean, at that point, it's just going to be the same thing over and over again. Like, we're so incremental at this point. Like, all the big changes have been made. All the big advancements are done in gaming. They happened last gen. Possibly even the gen before that. Everything else is just slightly shinier. That's it. That's all it is. Who gives a shit? I don't. I'm certainly not going to pay. What's worse is the incremental advancements that they're making now, because of the way they're doing it, cost more to make that slight bump than back in the day when it was a huge bump, you know? So, like, it's costing even more. Like, you're going to have consoles that have no improvements except, like, one small thing from the generation prior, and it's going to be, like, a 300% markup at this point.
And I think that kind of goes back to a conversation that we had long ago, back whenever they first, announced these consoles, that a typical lifespan for a console is about 10 years.
Yeah.
They push these through at 7.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely could have at least gotten away with a year or two before they really, made the push to the new consoles.
Look, I agree with you completely. You're 100% right. They're pushing these things out faster. They're making them, which makes the launch shittier. But aside from that, I don't mean to sound like an old fogey, but I don't see any big advancements to make anymore. There's nothing really on the horizon for game systems other than potentially making the technology they have in them slightly cheaper and slightly more efficient. Like, I don't see any. There's not going to be any big graphical changes that really affect people anymore. We're at the maximum amount that can be really seen by us. I mean, unless we're speaking about VR, and we all have talked at length about the problems inherent in VR, I don't see what the point is anymore for that stuff. Like, I don't see what we're doing, honestly.
I will be very curious to see what Microsoft's plan is going forward. Because if you remember, when they were talking about the Series S and Series X, they wanted to adopt more of a model of something akin to like a cell phone upgrade.
Yeah.
To where they have a new update every, 2 to 3 years. So, like, there's some new fresh hardware that'll make everything a lot better, but your old console is going to be good, but at a certain point it's not going to run games anymore. That strategy, combined with their push into Game Pass and cloud, has really not done them any favors, and I think at this point they'd be dumb to not know that.
Yeah, but at the same time, what's even worse is a refresh of the hardware right now is so expensive. Like, even just a small upgrade. So, like, every 2 or 3 years, you're gonna put out another $600 system that is getting exponentially more expensive, not cheaper. We've reached that weird singularity point where, like, it used to be a console came out 2 years after the console came out, it went down in price. Good mute there. It went down.
Comment. I was like, I gotta get it.
A console came out 2 years later, it went down in price. 2 more years later, it went a little bit more down in price. And then, like, 3-4 years after that, we had a new console. Now, they're going up. They're literally going up
literally
in price.
Yeah.
So So what are we doing here at this point? Because if you're talking about a console upgrade every 2 to 3 years, does that mean that like we're going to be paying even more and more and more for the hardware? That stuff is ridiculous to me.
It makes a hardware refresh so much more unjustifiable.
Yeah.
Which
yeah,
then begs the question too, what are their plans moving forward? I mean, some stuff has come out, more Activision Blizzard stuff, and what was it? The PlayStation 6 is on track to launch in 2026 or something like that.
Right. What is that even going to be?
Exactly. What is that going to be? 2026. You think about it, these consoles have been out for a little over 2 years at this point.
Right.
2026 is basically 3 years from now. That puts a lifespan at 5 years.
Right.
So it is half of what previous generations were, and we couldn't even justify this one.
Right.
I by no means regret getting the consoles that I have, but at the same time, what is really happening with them? What overall is really being the big pusher? Because, we've only just recently started to get games that are coming out exclusively for the current generation.
Right. And what's even worse to me, what bothers me even more, and I know we've gotten off on a kind of a tangent here, so we definitely need to move on, but what bothers me even more is they've already shown their hand with the messy launch, putting a ton of these games on the older systems. So basically, you've already told me that most of the new games coming out could be played on the old system. That we don't even need this newer system. So now we're talking about a PS6 in 3 years or whatever. So that means that we're going to get what, a $700-800 system that has slightly more space and a slightly better graphics card? Guys, that's just not worth it. It's not worth it, man. Mm-mm. And I don't know, at that point, PC or console doesn't matter. You're literally pushing people face first into PC. It's, you know what I mean? It's silly at this point. So, I don't know. The console game the console lake has just gotten real muddy. I'm kind of really glad I got out when I did. But, let's move on while my stomach tries to kill me. Jason, my primary beef with Breath of the Wild is that weapons and shields break, including some of the more rare, and maybe unique stuff. No, they really all break, other than the Master Sword, but even that has a breaking mechanic.
Timer. Yeah.
So it really all breaks. And I'm gonna say right now, Jason, that's everybody's gripe with that game. Mm-hmm. That was everybody's gripe with that game. Did they listen to anybody? No, they did not. That is all I will say on that, because the second one, everything breaks. Continuing, Jason, you can't make the chair not squeak. It's a result of the ancient magic that made it. It was forged in the fires of Mount Doom. Only there can it be destroyed. Continuing, Jason then says, some of the Undead Lab devs who worked on State of Decay and State of Decay 2 have expressed frustration that they are not allowed to be as transparent with State of Decay 3 as they were. That's a big problem. And I know last week I disagreed with Jason on the whole, hey, you put a trailer out there, you got to expect people to ask. And I'm not going back on that. But at the same time, I definitely think there is a Microsoft... Undead Labs is a very transparent company. They always have been. They're very community forward. And honestly, I think that's allowed them to not just survive, but prosper in the face of some serious technical issues on both games when they launched. You know what I mean? No shade thrown to Undead Labs. I think they're a great company, and I love their games. State of Decay 2 was a little bit of a mess when it first launched. I believe State of Decay 1 also had serious technical issues. But I think one of the things is they do a stream every week. They talk to their fans. They're constantly speaking to them. They're directly talking to them through chat. And I think that kind of thing is one of the things that has allowed the company to survive and flourish in places when other games would have died or been buried because of their bugs. So it is a little irritating that I think that State of Decay 3 has a whole nother company also working on it, which I don't think was Undead Labs' choice. I think that was Microsoft's choice. That the Coalition is slightly working on it. I don't think that choice had anything to do with Undead Labs. I think that was purely a Microsoft decision. And I think it's also purely a Microsoft decision that they're not allowed to talk about State of Decay 3. I think it was Microsoft's decision that they did a trailer in the first place. So, like, I think that, that's all on Microsoft. It's just, Undead Labs should still expect questions, but it is a real shitty thing, because I think as we find out more and more information, Microsoft continues to put their companies in shitty positions. You know what I mean? They continue to offer them pre-buy or pre-sale the moon when it comes to, like, creative licensings and freedoms, and then once they purchase your company, they make them do whatever they want. You know what I mean? And I think that's a huge problem. I don't know. What are your feelings on it?
Yeah, I really do think it is. It's one of those things to where I remember back in the day, like all of the major companies were like courting indies. Nintendo, I feel like, did an okay job with it, but, you know, Microsoft also did an okay job. But at the same time, that's exactly what it was. You get lured in with promises of, you know, X, Y, and Z and creative freedom and this, that, and the other. And, you know, it's all sunshine and roses for the first 2 weeks. But then it's like, well, they basically are like, I pay your bills. We own you. This is what you're going to do, regardless of what you want to do. This is what you're going to do. And of course, you know, that's super not cool. So,
it definitely feels like there's a honeymoon phase with Microsoft courting companies, and then that honeymoon ends the minute the T's are the I's are dotted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's, I gotta say, with all the companies that have been purchased by Microsoft, and all the companies that dodge that bullet that we've learned about in the FTC, I think that, like, there's a lot of regret and a lot of, whew, thank God we didn't do that sort of situations.
Yeah.
Jason, then, again, I 100% got the Series X because games are coming out now that won't play on the Xbox One. You gotta wonder, though, would they be able to play on the Xbox One? You know, I bet a lot of them would, but because they release new systems, a lot of it's just a gatekeeper-y thing to make you buy the new thing, which is something I want to point out that Microsoft promised they weren't going to do. When they announced this generation, they promised they weren't going to do that, and now we're in a position where you had to buy a new system to play the new games. Then, Bill Master General, decided to chime in. The only time I notice frames per second is in online first-person shooters like Call of Duty, and it's not so much that I notice the frames, it's that I notice bullet scan. As in, if the guy who's running while I'm shooting him at 30 frames per second, I have to lead him. But at 120 frames per second, the bullet hits where I pull the trigger. That is the only time I personally notice. But on my CRPG games, I play a lot, there is literally no difference at all. And, again, fair enough, but once we get to 60 frames per second, once we get to the 120 frames per second, we're at a point where it doesn't matter anymore. Like, there's no more frames per second that are going to matter. From that point on, it could be 300, it could be 400. The only thing it's going to make you do is buy a new TV because you can't perceive it with the human eye. Like, you can't. Like, you can't. So, like, we're getting to a point where there's a cap. And, like, that's the big issue. Like, I don't necessarily disagree with any of this, but you see what I'm saying. Like, we're hitting it, and I think he's kind of agreeing with me on a lot of points anyway. We're hitting that cap where it's like, none of this shit is going to matter, so what is it that they're going to start offering? You know what I mean? Like, they don't have anything to keep offering.
That's definitely. From what we were talking about a little bit, you know, he was, definitely hit the nail on the head. And the leading thing is an excellent example as well of, you know, in some competitive games, especially something like a first-person shooter, noticing a difference when it comes to playing the game. But at the same time, like you know, he had mentioned too, if it's just a simple, you know, like an RPG or something like that, it doesn't super matter.
Right, but 120 frames per second you pull the trigger, you hit the person. If that's the top, that's the cap. Then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like we've reached the cap of it. Like it can't really get any better, you know. So like I don't know where we're gonna go from there or what the like, and they're just gonna keep charging us for. Well, I'm just talking in circles. We'll move on. And then finally, Asylum 66. Yes, episode 200 should be a 10-minute stream of the chair.
Just the chair.
201 can be a live podcast. Sounds like great ideas to me. Well, he's the only one who chimed in on it. I don't know that I'm willing to create a podcast that shitty yet. maybe for episode 400. I don't know about 200.
We'll think about it.
All right, so that's it for fan interaction. We've gotten through it all. We have decided for our talking point today to do games that surprised us, games that we didn't think we were going to like and ended up loving. Games that maybe somebody loaned to us and said, you got to play this, and we were like, I don't like that game, and then all of a sudden, boom, we love that game. And I've got a couple that I'm kind of excited to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm sure Neil does too. It's going to be a fun topic before we get into the super depressing news. So we'll be right back with that talking point.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, talking point today. Games that surprised us. And I gotta be honest, the reason that this subject, because I called this subject today, the reason that I called this subject today is I am currently playing a game that I'm absolutely in love with that I never thought that I would be as into as I'm into. So would you mind if I started us off?
By all means.
Okay, so the game is Dave the Diver. And it is...
What is this game?
Oh my God.
I keep hearing tons of stuff about it.
This game's amazing. I think I'm going to try and get a review up, which we'll have, if I get it up, which we'll have already released. But, all right. So, it's so hard to explain. You play this fat dude who, like this fat kind of lazy dude. I mean, he's not really lazy once you get into the game, but they kind of market him as lazy. And then he has these two friends who are like, we're going to start a sushi bar, right? Okay. You're a diver. You go get us the fish. So the game plays out like you get 2 chunks of time. You get to dive once in the morning and then once in the afternoon. And then the night, you run the sushi bar with the sushi guy. So it is 1/2 procedurally generated fishing game. And then the other half is a restaurant management sim. You remember Moonlighter that I've always talked about?
I was literally just about to say, it really sounds like a Moonlighter.
Moonlighter is the only reason I tried this game. Because, so here's the story. First of all, is I have been a little disillusioned with all my games. I have plenty of good ones. It's just I'm in a place where like I don't really feel like playing any of them right now, you know? Mm-hmm. And I was just thirsting for something new. Like something that wasn't just an open world trudge or something that wasn't just like some sort of resource management trudge, which is usually games that I like, but I was just thirsting for something new. Mm-hmm. I watched an IGN review. Now we all know how I feel about IGN and IGN's reviews. However, in the case of independent games that they review, usually they're not... I give it a little bit more credit, because usually with the independent games, nobody's like breathing down their neck. Like, it's very clearly like somebody was like, this game is great, we should review it, and convinced the editors to like let them put out a review for it, basically. Mm-hmm. Or it's one of those where like, it's like a indie darling that got really big, like Pizza Tower or something, you know? So it got a 9 out of 10 in the IGN review. And I watched the review and I was like, this is interesting. Then I go on Steam, and Steam had it for like, I want to say 15-20% off for their summer sale. So it's only like $17 or $18, I think. So I'm like, you know what? I was just feeling impulse buy. So I'm like, I'm going to make an impulse purchase. I'm going to buy this game. I'm going to see how it is. I could not be fucking happier with this game. It's Moonlighter just on steroids, like maximum steroids. So Moonlighter anybody who doesn't know, it's still on Game Pass. I urge anybody who hasn't played it to check it out. It's a very good game. It is basically like, it plays like you do a dungeon crawl, but it's roguelike. But the actual action is Zelda-like. So it's kind of, it plays like Zelda, but the dungeons themselves are roguelike. You collect stuff from bad guys as you kill them, and then you have to decide when to leave, because if you get killed in the dungeon, you lose all the stuff that you had. And during the day, you run a shop where you sell all the stuff that you got during the night in the dungeon, and you try and get lower and lower into the dungeon. So this is a lot like that. You procedurally dive for the fish, and you can get lower and lower. You have an oxygen meter, and if you die or you run out of oxygen, you get rescued, but you only get to take one item back with you. So you have to manage that. Your oxygen is everything. It's your health and everything. And then what's even cooler, though, is that, but in Moonlighter, you never get to hire help for the store. There's never anything more than like just putting a price on things and moving on. You know what I mean? Like, it's a really cool idea, but it's a very basic thing. This is so dynamic. When you're on the fishing side, there's even like sprinkles of Monster Hunter stuff in here, because the stuff that'll earn you the most money for sushi is the hardest stuff to kill. And you have to figure out how to kill it. Like, you can't kill jellyfish at first. So you have to figure out how to kill them, how to catch them. To do that, you have to find new weapons, and you have to craft new weapons. The sharks, like, every shark has its own pattern. You have to figure out how to kill the sharks, what's best to kill the sharks. And then those things will give you the best food. So there's this really satisfying loop. On the management side, you get to hire people. You get to eventually have a rice farm and grow your own rice. You get a seaweed farm. You get to grow your own seaweed. There's all these other like management levels to it. But then you take all that wonderfulness and you add this like storyline, this narrative storyline that is funny, genuinely interesting, and just really charming the entire time. I'm in love with this game. I think about it when I'm not playing it. It's just wonderful. It's a wonderful game.
That's the best kind of game that you think about when
you're
not playing it.
It is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something like that, you know, it's wild what can grab somebody for what the reasons why it grabs them. And I think like it's even better when it's confusing to you.
Yeah.
Truthfully, that kind of rolled into one of the ones that I was going to do, and it's actually Skyrim. We've talked a little bit about this before in the past.
You stole one of mine.
We've talked about this a little bit in the past, just briefly touched on it, but my first, the path that took me to Skyrim was, I originally played Fable 2 on the Xbox 360 and was like, wow, I really like this. And then a friend of mine was like, well, you know what? You'll really like this other game then. And it was Oblivion. I gave Oblivion a shot, and I did not jive with it.
No.
All I did was just climb up to the tallest mountain that I could find and jump off repeatedly. That was my entertainment for the game. So imagine my surprise when Skyrim came out. Everyone was losing their mind, and I could care less about it. But the hype lasted for a while. And then the Best Buy up in Steelyard Commons went under. So they had a bunch of stuff on sale. Well, it just so happened that they had Skyrim was on sale for it was like $30 or something like that. And that was enough for me to be like, you know what? Screw it. Take it home. Give it a shot. Everybody's raving about it. And the first hour or two I played of that game, the whole time I'm just like, game, just more jumping off of cliffs. That's all I was really feeling from it for a while. But then at some point, something clicked in my head. I think it was just a random dungeon that I came across and just went through and came out of and was like, huh. So I don't have to do anything in particular. I can just kind of, dick around and like kill monsters and take stuff. And from there, out of nowhere, like it was not what I was expecting at all. I was expecting the same exact crap that I was dealing with Oblivion. And weirdly enough, I still can't play Oblivion.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Neither
it's
can I.
because I don't know. Maybe it's because it's a little bit dated, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. It's just weird. Skyrim's the only one. But yeah, that's definitely one of the games that's like now looking back on it, like Jesus, what was I even thinking? Ever questioning Skyrim? I've got the amount of time I've put into it. We've got it 3 different places now. Like most people, it's wild.
You have told that story many times on the show. I will say this. I am very much in your boat. Oblivion, I didn't try Oblivion before Skyrim. I did try it after Skyrim and was like, I was hoping to be a low budget Skyrim. It's not. But I did play Morrowind and hated it. Hated it. But Skyrim was one of those things that like the world was raving about it, and I was I was in a place where like my gaming experience was like I wanted value because I didn't have a really great job at that point in time, and for most of my young life it had all been narrative stuff. I was very into narrative things, and I wanted something that like anytime I play this, I want to be able to play it, and that had kind of come from my run-ins with sports games. Namely this one hockey game, NHL 2002, which I've talked about that many times on this, that I ran it out of draft pools. But it was one of those things where it's like once a year for the longest time, I would turn on my PlayStation 2, pop that game in, and run a season. I'd run a full season in franchise mode and see if I can win the Stanley Cup, do everything, and then walk away from it. And like I wanted that. I wanted that experience from a game with a story, so that anytime I jump into this game, I can go do something that's new and always come back to it. And I got Skyrim. The idea of how good that game is, like it's become a warm blanket for me. Like it's like anytime the world, like anytime I'm totally disillusioned with video games, it'll be like, well, I'll pop into Skyrim, I'll do that opening fucking tutorial, and I'll be like, where am I going to walk to this time? And I still find something new, especially with all the stuff that they've added to it. Don't get me wrong, Bethesda's a shady-ass company that has sold this game 400 different ways till Sunday. They've even taken creators' stuff and sold that as their own. But it doesn't change the fact that the game itself is just wonderful. It's just a magical fantasy world experience. It plays as good today as it played back then, and it's just like I said, it's just comfort food for me. Anytime I'm depressed, anytime I'm sick of things, it's like I'm gonna go in there, make a new character, see what I can find. You know what I mean? And that's just, I love Skyrim, and that was not something. I think that was the first game that changed all my tastes too. It changed him from the narrative. It switched him to the open world. It switched him to that like replayability as the thing that I wanted and valued in gaming.
Yeah. So, what is your next one then?
Well, I got to be honest. That was my second one. So
okay.
we both had Skyrim for the second one, which is weird. Yeah, I had a third one, and now my brain has stopped working.
Well, I can go with.
Go ahead and go with your other one because I had it. I just
yeah.
didn't write it down, and that's a mistake when you're 40. Because anything you don't write down just goes right out of your fucking skull as soon as you think about it.
So my third one is going to be one that I've kind of mentioned a little bit before too, Stardew Valley.
Oh, okay.
Never would have thought that I was going to enjoy Stardew Valley. I never. So that sort of game is not my bag. Even when Animal Crossing kind of came out, the Animal Crossing for the Switch, the New Horizons.
Right.
I was not like really into that. Like I played it a bit. We played it here on the channel a little bit. Like it was fine, but I wasn't like into it. So imagine my surprise when I get Stardew Valley for my wife, because she's interested in it, because she loves the Sims sort of game, and she plays it constantly, and she just asked me one day, like, would you start a farm with me? I'm like, you know what? Yeah.
Why not?
We don't have any games that we're playing, right now. Let's give it a shot.
And everything gets made better when you're doing it with your significant other.
Yes. And that's the thing, is it's very much the amount of things that we have done in that game, and the time that we've put in together. It's been a minute since she and I have gotten in on our farm, for sure. But even still, just like not even playing the game itself, just like doing stupid things. I would chase after her through the map, trying to catch up to her, making a stupid voice. We burned a whole day that before, like in the game, doing that. But like, the game has so much to offer. I'm thinking it's just like it's a farming sim. You water plants and everything like that, and then you're good to go. No, there's like a whole dungeon crawler thing, and the dungeons are all like procedurally generated too, which normally is not my bag. But it definitely there's a fortune system. So every day you wake up and you can take a look at the TV and you can see what your fortune's gonna be.
Oh, nice.
So it determines the luck of the day. So like there are certain different like dungeons that you can go through in the game to where it's like, okay, you want to have a good luck day, so you can go through and not run into a ton of monsters and get like good gem drops. Or you can have a bad luck day come through when you probably don't want to be going through, the dungeons or anything like that to find anything. You primarily just want to, screw around in town or do farming. It's got two different separate things that are opposite to each other, but somehow mush them together. And I'm very, very pleased that I gave that game a shot.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Stardew was one I could never get into. I tried on the Switch, and I couldn't. We do own it on the Switch. I bought it because I was just so sure I was gonna like it, and I was just like, I cannot keep playing this game. But yeah, that's awesome. I like anything where you can get like your significant other into it with you, which is really nice. It's even harder for me and Melissa because she's not a gamer. So like when we do find those games that are like, oh, we could play this together, it's very exciting. My next one, I did remember it. I can't believe I forgot this in the first place, but will surprise everybody. And that's Death Stranding. Here's why this is on the list.
Jesus. All right, go ahead.
The core of that game is awesome. Watch my review. I have a review of it up. And here's the story of this is I have a friend, as Asylum66. He has posted on here many times. We were not, I don't know if we were hanging out again yet or not, but he requested it, which, again, I do requests for reviews. If you request a game, I try and review it. If I can get a hold of it, I review it. This game was on Game Pass. He requested it. And I was really mad because anybody who's listened to this podcast for any period of time knows how much I hate Hideo Kojima and everything he stands for, which is nothing. But I uphold the things I promise as long as I possibly can. And that was, I do requests. He requested to do it. So I played that game for 5 hours. Here's the thing. This is the reason that this is on this list. Because this is a list of games that you liked, even though you were positive you were going to hate them. I was positive I was going to hate this game through and through. And I'm going to say this now. Every part of this that Hideo Kojima specifically touched is terrible. Like, the story is incomprehensible and stupid. It is full of itself. It has concepts that are ridiculous and over the top, that don't need to be there, that are dumb. There's all these weird crying babies on people's chests. It's so wrapped up in that man's ego that I'm not changing the fact that I hate those parts of it. But the game, just the core concept of what this game was supposed to be, is so utterly fantastic. It's one of the things that blows my mind about it. And this is all in the review. I'm not saying anything I haven't said before. Because the game itself, you're basically a postman in the apocalypse. An apocalypse that, like, makes it hard for you to just walk around. So the idea is, A, you have to walk from point A to point B, and you have to get there over treacherous terrain, and then you have to attach these packages to you. But you have to carry huge packages. So, like, you have to figure out a way to attach it to yourself because the balance of your walk is shifted based on how you attach them. So if they're oblong, you'll fall over, the packages get damaged, you get less rewards for delivering them or even fail the mission. Other than that, what's even cooler is the more you walk in the terrain, the more the path gets beaten. You'll actually start to create footpaths by walking the same path over and over again. If you create a ladder, other people can use the ladder in the game. It alters the terrain that you're walking through. If you build a bridge, they can use the bridge. You can use their bridge. You can light their bridge. This is the coolest fucking idea. I loved this part. I would just ache through the fucking 30 to 40 minute cutscenes of incomprehensible stupid about babies and phantoms and brothers and sisters and goo and whatever to get to these mail sections where you're just, how do I get over this river with 17 packages over my back that are kind of in a weird pyramid? How do I get across this land that keeps tripping me up? How do I get there before the time rain hits me? Like, so utterly good. And like I said, this is all in my review. The minute I hit the point where, like, the story started to kick in, I was like, nope, I'm done. I'm out. I'm not going to contribute to this anymore. But, like, the core gameplay of that is phenomenal. If all the stuff that Hideo did was cut away, the weird story, all of that shit, the super arrogant bullshit story was cut away, and it was just that core walking mechanic stuff, that game, I'd play it forever.
So then here's the question. Will you play Death Stranding 2 when it launches?
No, I will not.
No.
I don't play Death Stranding anymore because I can't deal, like, Hideo is too much a part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like every, like, and the biggest problems with Hideo aren't even just that he's a problem with it and his story is stupid. It's that he's a part of it and his story is stupid and always present. You cannot escape it. You cannot walk away from it. You'll get an hour of walking to sit there for 40 minutes while the star of the week that he kidnapped out of Hollywood talks to Jeff Keighley in a hallway for fucking 45 minutes. You know, like...
Yeah.
I can't do that shit. I just can't do that shit. I certainly can't do it to get to the end to not understand what the fuck is going on. And you never understand what's going on. And anybody out there who's like, oh, I get it, and you're pushing your fucking glasses up your nose to actually me? No, you fucking don't. Nobody gets that shit. Hideo Kojima doesn't even get that shit. He just randomly picks ideas out of a fucking hat. And just like, yeah, babies, sky babies, time rain, murder crows, ghosts. That's what he does to create his story.
Kojima is just the first generation of ChatGPT.
Yeah. No. Everybody out there who's like, ChatGPT doesn't create anything meaningful. It creates things more meaningful than a Hideo Kojima game. I'll say it on record here. I would take a game created by ChatGPT over Hideo Kojima any day of the fucking week. Because at least I know, however incomprehensible or weird the ChatGPT game is, the ChatGPT isn't making it just so that he could jerk off to it later.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That was a big surprise to me, was that game. Because I didn't expect the gameplay to be good. You know?
Yeah, for sure. Well, with that, do you have any others?
I don't, because of the Skyrim one.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, this was a fun one to do because after I put it out there, I mean, obviously there was Dave the Diver, but most games, I'm very methodical about the games I play. Mm-hmm. And usually when somebody recommends me a game, I turn it down because I know already what that game is, and I know whether I'm going to like it or not. You know, so I'm very methodical, especially since, like, and I'm not saying my time is more valuable than anybody else's. It's just I'm saying I don't have a lot of it. I don't have a ton of free time to play games. I run this channel. I run a role-playing game company. I also have a part-time job. I raise a kid. Like, it's just I don't have a ton of time to play the games. I would say I have probably a little bit more than other people in my position as well. I'm not going to commit to a game that's like 50 to 200 hours if I don't know absolutely that I'm going to love it, you know? Right. Or I haven't been required to do it because of a pre-thought of promise that I didn't. Oh, there's one other one that I could say really quickly, honorable mention, and it's because of your wife. I bet there's been many of games requested. There hasn't been that many games requested that I review, but one of the ones that was specifically requested by her was Lawnmower Simulator.
Oh.
I still play Lawn Mowing Simulator. Still to this day, Kayla, still play that game. I find my happy place in mowing lawn outside. So same way, I find my happy place mowing a lawn in a game. So every once in a while, when I just want a chill experience that's not shooting, that's nothing, that's just me making a lawn shorter, I play Lawn Mowing Simulator. I mean, there's not much to say about it other than that, but the only reason I played that is because those are the two games she's requested reviews. She requested a review of Lawn Mowing Simulator. She requested a review of Paparazzi. I do not still play Paparazzi. Paparazzi is nightmare fuel. It's nightmare fuel when you realize what that game is. Nope, not going to do it. You're a camera person. You're a weird, creepy camera. You're not even a person. Like, when you finally see yourself, you're like, holy shit, I'm a monster. It's a very creepy game. Once you get into it, it's very creepy. But yeah, I still play Lawn Mowing Simulator, and only because she requested that review. Still on my hard drive to this day.
Very interesting. I feel like that's one that I would enjoy too, because I also like mowing the lawn.
It's fun. I mean, it gives you that same sense of accomplishment of mowing the lawn. You know what I mean? That making those tight lines back and forth.
Oh yeah.
And just seeing the grass just vanish. Oh, love it. I love it. I love it in my real life. Like, it's one of my favorite things to do is mow the lawn and just get that fucking tight. Oh, hashtag tight lines, baby. I think that's going to be the name of this episode. Tight lines! Woo! I'll sometimes post pictures of my lawn to Facebook and be like, hashtag tight lines. Okay, what's your last one?
I didn't have any more.
Oh, okay. All right.
I had the three.
You were asking me if it was the last one. I thought you were setting up to do one more.
No. I asked if you had another one.
No. The Lawn Mowing Simulator jumped into my head at last minute, and it should definitely be mentioned because it's still on my fucking hard drive, and I have a review of that too on the channel. Should anybody want to see it? All right, well, let's get into the news then, shall we?
Alrighty.
We'll be right back with the shitty part of the show.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Brings us to our last segment, guys. That's the news. That's where we take the news headlines that jumped out at us that we want to tell you guys about. We want to riff about them. We want to let the world at large know about them. We're going to go through them. I got 4. Neil has 2.
Question mark?
So I'm going to start us off. Number 1. This is not so much super big news, but the FTC trial is not quite done, but both parties have argued. The judge is deliberating on the result of this. Man, a lot of shit came out, man. A lot of shit.
Yeah.
I don't want to go through all of it, point by point, but I urge anybody to go check it out and educate yourself, especially if you're one of the people out there that's like, Microsoft's great. Educate yourself on what came out about Microsoft, because they're a lot of the stuff that they have presented front facing is bullshit. There's a whole email about how they basically straight up say that they can outspend Sony, which is what I have been saying forever.
Yeah. Honestly, that's actually one of my two. So,
okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to steal it.
No, that's totally fine. Yeah, I mean, we can kind of talk about
let's get into it.
Smidge. That is the most assholery I have ever heard of. It was Matt Booty sent an email out straight up saying, straight up and down, said verbatim that they can spend Sony out of business.
Yep.
Their entire objective was to just buy everything.
Yep.
And they had, I believe it was referred to as a moat of content, to where they had so much stuff that they couldn't be touched one way or another, basically starving everybody else off.
Yeah.
Not great. Not great. Especially when they are, trying to argue Microsoft all hat in hand. Oh, please, sir, might we just have potentially just one more studio? We need but only one. We need it to survive. We are so poor and feeble.
It's very hard to believe too that while they're sitting up there saying that they're going to do everything in their power to keep Call of Duty multi-platform, and that all of these company games are going to be multi-platform, it's very hard for them to sit up there and say that. For us to believe them sitting up there and saying that when we see an email that literally says they're trying to outspend them. The only way to outspend another company is to buy up a game and then make it not playable on that other company's platform. It's the only way to buy out another console company. So the idea that then you sit up there, Phil Spencer, and say that, oh, we're never going to make Call of Duty exclusive. We're going to do everything in our power to keep Call of Duty cross-platform. I don't believe you. We have the evidence that you were literally planning on outspending them. The only way to outspend them is to literally take the games away from them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I do think it's funny, too, because I'm just scrolling through the email right now.
Oh,
yeah. He had even said Google is 3 to 4 years away from being able to have a studio up and running. This was in 2019. I mean, I guess he's kind of right.
He's right.
Technically. But yeah, that's the thing is he straight up is likening, what they're trying to do to CBS or Hulu, just being a place to where they just hoard all of the things and they control access to the games.
I mean, really more apt is Netflix, but circa 5 years ago. Where everything was on Netflix and it was the only streaming service. I think that they definitely the mask definitely slipped during this. We definitely saw a lot of shady bullshit going on, and the emails definitely revealed a lot of stuff when it came to what their actual plans were versus what they were saying, public facing.
Yeah, I just again this whole process has been I'll be astounded if the FTC allows this to go through. Well, just from what they've said, in plain English. But at the same time, we've said here multiple times before, it's going to find a way to happen. It's just a matter of how it's going to be. Because for some reason, the game industry just gets away with all things.
Well, look, it's not even just the game industry. It's America. We're very capitalistic, and money talks here, and Microsoft has all the money. So they're going to find a way to get this through. I've seen the experts are kind of very divided on it. I did there was one comment said that basically we wouldn't be in this position if Microsoft made Call of Duty. We're only in this position because Microsoft wants to buy Call of Duty. Microsoft wants to buy these games up. And that's even though it's right. Well, and it's not even just that a lot of people are oh, it's all about Call of Duty. That's not even what that sentence says. You know what I mean? It's not just about Call of Duty. It's about the fact that Microsoft is literally able to purchase the game. They can sit back, they can wait for other people, actual craftsmen, actual artists to create games that actually become popular, then they can step in, purchase that, and make that their own without actually doing any of the work because they have so much money behind them. And that's really the problem here. And the crux of this whole thing is that purchasing Activision makes them too powerful. But, we've talked about this before. We're all waiting on bated breath to see what the judge says in the FTC trial, whether or not the buyout can go through, and what caveats may or may not be placed on it. Again, I implore the people out there, I implore the judge out there, see reason, do not allow this to go through. It will give Microsoft too much power. 100%. All right, so I've got 3 and you've got 1 now, right? All right, well, I'll go again.
We'll just save my other one for last because it may be a quick tangential sort of thing. But
okay, all right. Well, I've got a funny one. I've got a sad but expected one, and then I've got a good one, a positive one. Which one do you want to hear first? I'll let you pick.
Oh boy, let's do funny one.
Funny is really funny. Okay, so Diablo 4 is in the wild. And gobbling up all your money and time, even though it's the same fucking game. They just made it again. But whatever. So we all know what Diablo is, but they have this hardcore mode, okay? Where your character permadeaths if you die. People are very into this hardcore mode, especially the big streamers, especially the big pro players for Diablo. There's a creature in the game called a treasure goblin. The treasure goblin is non-lethal creature that spits out treasure when you hit it. So it's just one of those little guys that you find and you try and hit them and kill them while they run away, sort of thing. Kind of like your Borderlands loot goblins or whatever. The treasure goblin is murdering hardcore characters. So here's what happens. There is when you get into those hardcore tier levels and you go into nightmare dungeons, they put, those modifiers on it. Every game's got them, weird modifiers, now all the bad guys explode, stuff like that. Well, specifically, one of the things is called Death Pulse. When a monster dies, it emits this pulse of energy. For whatever reason, when a treasure goblin dies, it emits a one-shot kill Death Pulse.
Oh, Jesus.
Some sort of bug. So there's all these players, these pro streamers, who have put hundreds of hours into that game to get their hardcore character up to level 60 tier 2 or whatever. They go to hit a treasure goblin, which is a completely normal thing to do. They hit the treasure goblin explodes and kills their character, wiping all hundreds of hours of that progress. Even though it is not supposed to. So not only is the treasure goblin emitting this death pulse, which it probably shouldn't, but the death pulse is, for whatever reason, 300 times stronger because it's the treasure goblin.
I would love to play a game that involves permadeath, but I know how I am. And I'm going to be either very upset or angry if something happens, especially if it's one of those situations to where there's
a bug,
a glitch, or the dog jumps up and smacks the controller out of my hands. I can't for that reason exactly.
There's 2 games that I loved with permadeath, and that was Watch Dogs Legion and State of Decay 2. And that's because you never really played one of the characters. You had a huge group. But that permadeath would fasten you to the characters and make it so much more real. When they die, you'd be like, oh no, Steve died. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's when permadeath is really, really sweet. Okay, so you still just have the one. You're saving it to the end. So now what do you want? Do you want the kind of crappy one, or do you want the good one?
Kind of crappy.
All right, kind of crappy. Daedalic. I think that's how you pronounce it. They are the guys who created Gollum. And we're apparently working on an untitled Lord of the Rings game. They are no longer working on any games.
Well, gee, I wonder why.
They laid off their internal staff and are only doing publishing publishing and other stuff like that, like publishing and like agreements from now on. So they no longer make their own in-house original games. I think that's a little shitty. I know Gollum was not a great game. It was not a big hit. It was a what the fuck are we doing here? But do you guys really think that the 25 staff that they laid off had anything to do with the decision to make a stealth-based Gollum game? I don't think so. I don't think that it's necessarily on them. I think there was a higher-up that was like, we've got the Lord of the Rings property. Let's make a Gollum game. And then they were like, what? Okay. And then they did the best they could with it. So, like, I think that that's a little bummer that 25 people lost their jobs. But at the same time, the idea, I mean, it also is a thing that actually makes sense. Like, because they were being handed another Lord of the Rings game.
Yeah.
And, like, why? They failed the first one.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, that... I remember when Gollum was announced, and I very much was like, who is this for? Why?
Right.
There's not very many games out there that, like, they get announced, and you immediately point to them and be like, that is going to be a pile of shit. This was one of those.
Yeah.
And then the fact that, after Gollum launched, it had came out that they were working on another Lord of the Rings game. The fact that Warner Brothers didn't just pull that license directly out from under them the second Gollum went out. Hell, before it even went out. They had to have known what was going on to some degree. I
honestly think that's what happened. I think Gollum came out and Warner Brothers pulled it. And that's how long it took them to announce it. I think the other thing is, too, I didn't even look at the game when it got announced and said that's going to be a pile of shit. I said, why are you making that? I didn't even necessarily think it was going to fundamentally be a bad game. I was just like, has anybody in the world ever said the words, man, I wish I could play the murderous psychopath who's obsessed with the ring? No, nobody said that. So, I don't know, it wasn't made for anybody. And then it came out and it was actually a pile of shit, in addition to the fact that nobody wanted to play a game about Gollum. So it's just very strange, you know?
And they didn't even get Andy Serkis to do it.
No, they didn't.
Which, honestly, truthfully, I think that would have helped things, at least a little bit. Not a whole heck of a lot, but...
The problem is, nobody wants to spend that much time with Gollum. Gollum's an interesting character because you hate him. That's the point of him.
What it is.
It's like you hate him. The whole idea of the story is that Frodo is so good-hearted that he just keeps trying to get fucking Smeagol to be Smeagol again. That's the whole point. Plus, he's also wearing the ring. So the whole idea is he sees in Gollum his own eventual self, and he wants to make sure that there's something redeemable in Gollum because he's very afraid he's going to become Gollum. That's the whole point of him. So they keep him alive, and he keeps trying to redeem him, even though he's just the fucking worst. So, the whole point of the character is he's the fucking worst. So why would you want to make a game about him, man? It's terrible. It's like, hey, you know who'd be a great game character? Hitler. Everybody said they want to play Hitler. No! Nobody wants to play Hitler. It's weird and ridiculous. I don't know. It's fucking strange. So, alright, so my last one.
Yes.
This is the good one. Not much to say about it other than it's good. Baldur's Gate 3, Larian Studios, CRPG, our very own Bill Master General, Philblade330, super excited about that game, has streamed it a couple of times in early access here. It got moved up. Yes, from August 30th to August 3rd. So it's coming out in
that's a big bump.
Yeah, 2 weeks. However, the PlayStation version has been bumped back to September 6th. So a delay for the PlayStation version, but the PC version comes out a month ahead of time. Their reasoning is that PlayStation, they actually have, crazily enough, they actually have a couch co-op mode for that game. Yeah. For a CRPG, that's, in my opinion, that's kind of unheard of for a CRPG to have couch co-op.
On the PlayStation 5 version?
Yeah. Yes. And that's the reason it got delayed, is because the way they do it is they have a split screen when you're making your decisions for so you can make them at the same time. And then when the bad guys are going, the split screen goes away. And for whatever reason, that transfer is extremely hard on the PlayStation. So that's what they're trying to figure out and work into it, which is why it's been delayed on the PlayStation. However, on the PC version, it will have a couch co-op. Couch co-op CRPG, and it is bumped up to August 3rd. You can get your hands on it then. I know Phil Billy is excited about that one.
Very interesting. I didn't know it was going to have a couch co-op.
Neither did I. He was telling me about it because I knew I had already put down the bump up in the delay, but I didn't get to read the full article, and he was actually telling me about the whole couch co-op thing, and I was like, that is really cool. I don't think I've ever seen a CRPG with a couch co-op, but that's very cool.
Yeah.
I'm done. Last headline is yours.
The last one, I guess, honestly, we were talking about it a little bit. We actually didn't talk about the Nintendo Direct last week, and we said we were gonna, and we kind of... So, I mean, just going over some...
what was there to talk about?
Well, that's the thing. That's why it wasn't anything massive. There were some interesting things.
Yes. Yes.
So, one of them being they're remaking Super Mario RPG.
Yes.
Which I think is wonderful because that's one of those Nintendo titles that I've always wanted to play, and I actually never did. It is on the Super Nintendo Classic Edition, and I believe it is or was on Switch Online.
It is on Switch Online.
Yeah, but now that they're going to be remaking it, I think I'll just wait for that. Because originally there were rumors floating around that they were going to remake, or at least port, Thousand Year Door. GameCube ports are now like the new big thing. But apparently 3DS ports are too, because they're actually going to be porting over Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon from the 3DS over to the Switch as well. Which is very interesting. But they also made some other interesting announcements. Really just kind of two more of them were of note. Well, I guess
you're going to mention the ones that I...
Well, there's one of them that is like it's important for other people, I guess, but not necessarily for me. Pikmin 1 and 2 are going to be available on the Switch. Or they are available on the Switch rather now. And then 4 is going to be coming out this year.
Yeah.
They announced in development a Princess Peach game. They showed gameplay, but didn't give it a name. Yeah, which I thought was very bizarre.
Really? You think it's bizarre? Considering how long Breath of the Wild 2 was Breath of the Wild 2?
I mean, that's true.
I don't think it's wild at all for Nintendo.
Yeah, it definitely was out there, but I'll be interested to see what exactly that is. The last time we got a standalone Peach game was Super Princess Peach on the DS. And then the last one, I just had it in my brain and it went away.
Super Mario Wonder, which is the new 2D, a new 2D game.
The acid trip of a Mario game.
Yeah.
That one is gonna be wild, and I mean, literally, I believe that people will buy this game, get high and play it, and it will be a religious experience for them. Because I don't know if you watched.
I did.
I'm sure you did. Yes. Yeah. But anybody else out there watched the Super Mario Wonder trailer, an announcement trailer? It's basically a 2D. Like a new Super Mario Brothers sort of situation. It's just a new version on the Switch. However, when you get the power-ups, they don't necessarily power you up. The very first time that you showed one of those power-ups, they made the... I don't know if it's brilliant decision or terrible mistake to present it as straight up somebody tripping balls.
Yeah.
Because all of the pipes started crawling around and got eyes.
Yeah.
Kind of nightmare fuel. But they also showed some other things like instead of like when Mario jumps, instead of actually jumping, he just stretches. And he's in like black and white or like in a colored background sort of situation. He turned into an elephant.
Yeah, the elephant was the
elephant thing is weird. It was very bizarre across the board, but very on par for Nintendo. So yeah, I mean that's really what kind of came out of the Nintendo Direct. I mean it was a lot of other just random slice of life JRPG.
Man, there's a lot of slice of life JRPGs coming to Switch. It's like, you like farming? Here's some farming. You want some more farming? How about some more farming?
Robots. How about farming with robots?
We're farming with robots. We're farming with mutants. We're farming with animals, bro. You want some more farming? You make your corn with a mutant bunny. His name's Steve. Here you go, farming. How about some farming with aliens? Yeah, aliens. Farming. Like, I don't know what Nintendo has gotten into their head, but they're just like, every farming simulator, that's going to be our directs from now on. We're just going to put Harvest Moon, Slices of Life
2 years
everywhere.
in a row.
It's crazy.
The summer show last year was the same exact thing. We had the same exact conversation that we're having right now. It was all slice of life JRPGs.
Yeah. I do want to say, I think Switch has a serious content problem and has had one for about 2 years now. And yeah, Tears of the Kingdom, I'm an outsider. Almost everybody loves that fucking game. But that is really the only big hit for Switch in a while. I mean, you could argue Metroid Dread, but that was the only one last year. Like, they have had a serious content drought. So much so that I think that's why we keep getting all these weird fucking ports out of nowhere. Because those ports can get done in like a year or two. It doesn't take them as long to do them. I was like, oh, do we have anything for 2023? Port one of the Luigi Mansions, you know? Like, I think that, like, Switch is in a terrible spot right now. And now they're talking about, like, a next-gen Switch coming. I don't understand what that could possibly be. Personally, one's already out. It's called the Steam Deck. I think that, like, they're in a really tough spot to be in. I will say, I think Super Mario Wonder will be good. Their 2D platformers are always fun romps. My biggest problem with them is they still think that they're worth $60 to $70. They're not. Sorry, guys. They're not. You've got the Princess Peach thing, which is untitled and weird. The untitled is even more weird because it's like, a lot of times when they untitle something, it's because they're trying to hide a secret in the name.
Yeah.
But what could the secret be? There's only ever been, like, a couple of Princess Peach games, and they're nothing that, like, to write home about. So, like, what are they hiding there? The Super Mario RPG thing looks cool. My biggest problem with it is I would much rather get a next-gen sequel to Super Mario RPG than a remake. I think you've already got Super Mario RPG in its purest awesome form on Switch. Why exactly do we need a remake of that at this particular juncture more than a sequel when you don't have any content? You know what I mean? Like, I think that would have been a bigger hit for me. As far as the Super Mario RPG goes, like I said, like, I'm not going to pay $60 for it. The same game is in online with slightly shittier graphics. Why would I pay? Why would I give you another $60? And that's what they're going to charge, because Nintendo does not do very rarely does reduced price games. So why would I pay $60 for that remake? You know, it's right there. It's already there. You're already giving me access to it. Like, why would I pay $60 for it? It's not like some of the other ones where you're remaking something we can't get our hands on. You know, so I don't know. I thought that was kind of. I love Super Mario RPG. I thought that was a misstep. I thought it was kind of a misstep on the thing. I think I much would have rather seen a sequel, a next-gen sequel to the original game that I could play. That would have really excited me way more than just a remake of a game that I can get anytime I want with slightly dumbed-down graphics. Unless they put some features in it or some new content in the remake, then you might get me excited. But it looked like just a straight port with better graphics, remake, you know? Yeah. Or a remaster, I guess. Like, a remake would... Like, if it was an actual remake, I'd be into it. But it looks like just a straight remaster. So that doesn't really do anything for me, you know? I don't know. Do you see where I'm coming from on that?
No, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, that's the thing, too, is, like, you know, the Super Mario RPG has been held up by the Paper Mario games, or at least did. up until 1,000 Year Door, and then they just start whatever the fuck they think Super Mario RPG is, or Paper Mario is, rather.
Yeah. That aspect of turn-based to it. And if you are remastering it, Nintendo, please balance your leveling, okay, so that we don't have to grind. It's the biggest problem with Super Mario RPG was from one place to another, the level difference was like 10 levels if you wanted to do anything. So you would have to, like, after you beat a boss, you would have to grind the fuck out of that game before you even moved into the next area. You get your ass handed to you. Please balance it so that we don't have to do that shit anymore. Like, grinding does not make content. I hate that shit. My biggest problem with JRPGs is when you, like, oh, the thing I gotta do, I need to be at level, like, fucking 30, and I'm at level 25. Oh, so I gotta just go out into a field, walk back and forth, and run into fucking bad guys over and over again until I hit that level. Please fix that. Please. Nobody wants that.
Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy 13 were good for that.
All my favorite JRPGs are Suikoden. The Suikoden remasters that I'm still waiting on, that we haven't heard boo from since they got announced last year. Suikoden. I love Suikoden. Same thing. You'd hit a boss and you're like, I gotta fucking grind, or I'm never gonna make it. I hate that shit. Fix that shit. Alright, that's it for the news. You want to plug this sucker and be done?
Most certainly.
Alright.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that brings us to the end of the show and the shameless self-promotion that comes with it. Neil, what would you like to plug?
Vampires.
That's the right way to say it for a Redfall thing, too.
Yeah. Very
Vampires.
Vampires.
They got tooths. They eat your blood.
Tooths, long toothums. So we are very much still plugging away at that, and we just did a whole nother batch, as you no doubt have seen already. I do so enjoy these. They are gold through and through. Just the endless glitches and the shenanigans that come about. In fact, we're probably going to be doing some more here.
Yes.
Now that the scheduling has kind of leveled itself out, will be good to start flowing on a regular basis.
Yeah. Like a menstrual cycle, we'll start flowing on a regular basis. Also, if you are watching that and you're interested in seeing all the pictures that we take, head on over to our Discord. I have a thread of all the bugs that we have taken pictures of that you can check them out, and the nightmares that we have to endure on a regular basis, that I have to endure. We're continuing to record it. I think we're going to end up finishing the fucking game. And it's sad that game is going to go on my list of games I've finished. That I'm going to have to look at that. Like, I can't believe I played that to completion. But yeah, we're continuing to record. You can check that out every Saturday. It goes live at 8 a.m. anytime you want to watch it. All right, for me... Oh, there's so much stuff, guys. I don't want to go through it all. I'm just being lazy today. I will say we've got some new Preludes coming out. We did take 2 weeks off just due to family stuff, but this Sunday we're playing Oregon Trail again, baby. Back to the Oregon Trail. You guys loved it. So we're doing it again. Prelude's always fun. Old Man General Manager is great. I just came to realize that we are literally 3 months ahead on recording because we just have fun playing it. I didn't realize it because I'm getting all excited about the end of Season 3, and I just realized that we're not even really halfway through Season 3 on the shows that have gone live. But check that out. We have a lot of fun. You guys like that. Also, on the TTRPG side, there's plenty of streaming going on. But please go buy my games if you're a TTRPG person. We've got another one coming out here soon in July. We will be publishing through a different place though, because we like.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Drive-through's done us dirty, so we're gonna move on. All right. Well, other than that, we're done. We're done with this. Still don't know what we're going to do with our 200th, but you guys can contact us on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, on Twitter at OldManGamingNet. Join our Discord. Links in the description below. Influence us in all of our shows from there. Comment below on what the games that surprised you were. I'll read them out through fan interaction, and we'd love to hear more ideas on what you guys think we should do for our 200th. And as long as you keep watching and listening, we'll keep making them. See you guys next time. I'm coming.
Oh, you're fine. That was just enough time for me to finally purchase Pizza Tower because it is on sale. This is what I was waiting for.
Oh, that's exciting. You need to record some of that and send it to me so we can do it as a review.
Yeah, I gotta figure out how the hell I'm gonna do a screen record on here somehow.
You could probably actually do it with your graphics drive card too, you know. They have built-in stuff.
Sure, yeah.
I just use OBS, but
that's true. I think I've actually done that before when I was testing out my OBS setup when I was trying to do that. I'll have to look.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I remembered suddenly that I hadn't taken my fucking Metamucil, so I had to run upstairs to do that.
That is about the oldest thing
Dude,
I have ever heard you say.
You have no idea. You have no idea. But I have been told by no less than 2 doctors that it will reduce, if not cure, a problem that I have been having chronically for some time. So, like, I have no choice but to start taking it.
Of shitting, have you tried the volcano stuff yet?
No, I want to.
I haven't gotten to everything that I could have ever wanted. Even
so
though
excited.
the first time that we ordered it, because I'm such a fat piece of shit, I'm actually a Taco Bell fire level reward member.
Same here. Same here.
Yeah.
Baby.
So.
Here. Yeah, you're in company, man. You're in good company.
I
get the emails from Taco Bell that are like, "Here's how fat you were this week." Yeah. Oh yeah.
I got the early access to the volcano stuff. So this past Tuesday, we had already decided, because that's when early access started, was we're fucking doing it. So we had the whole group came over, and we were just like, it's just gonna be Taco Bell. Like, that's it. We're not doing anything at all otherwise. And we put in our order and went to go pick it up, and like they were struggling. Granted, it was 5 people who all ordered stuff all at once, but we split it between 2 orders. So I mean, it was it was a little bit much for them. So I mean, I get that. And then we brought it back, and we were missing like 4 things from the order, and it was like, okay, I guess. And then we went to go get things, and like the lady behind the counter was all like, are you really just trying to get food? Like, she didn't say it, but you could see it on her face. I'm just like, we were just here. Do you remember us? Like, we literally were staring at you while you were making our burritos. Shut the fuck up. But then even after all of that, whenever we brought the stuff back, they still didn't even make the stuff right that was missing.
Oh, God.
Yeah, the first, like, it was an entire wash. It was like to the point to where it's like, do you have to go back up there again? I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm done messing around with it. It's over. I didn't even want to go up again the last time, let alone this time.
But it was good this time.
Yeah. So I decided to. I don't know why my keyboard had stuff typed out.
You keep saying you're typing, but it's all right.
It was just space bar.
I can very clearly see you're not typing. So
yeah, the cat's fucking around. But yeah, I ended up going Thursday, and it was good. It was good.
Is it super spicy or just like the right amount of spicy?
It's the right amount of spice.
Yes.
It's like that quick, like, wabam, but it doesn't hang around.
It's like the salsa verde nacho fries. I fucking love those. I'm so sad they went away again.
Unpopular opinion, don't care for the nacho fries. I don't care about Taco Bell's fries.
Oh, I like them. What I don't like is I don't like them plain. I like them when they do them in the nacho fry sort of situation where it's like they used to do a nacho fries Bill Grande, which I loved. And then when they did this recently, they did a nacho of salsa verde nacho fries where it was like the green salsa, then sour cream and meat on it. And I was like, I'm down. I'm into that. I'm all into that.
They had, I think it was called like a rattlesnake burrito or something like that. at one point. That was good.
Yeah, I remember
it had
that.
The fries in it.
They had the fries. I love that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good.